Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss 21 Jump Street. Not the TV show, but there will be a couple cameos from there. But let's get to the movie. Starring Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum, Brie Larson, Dave Franco, Rob Riggle, DeRay Davis, and Ice Cube, and directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Now, I have seen this before, and I wonder if it's as funny as I remember. Because when I saw the second one, and I'll talk more about that next week, I like this one much better, but we'll see how both movies go. Let's get into the movie. We open with high school, where we meet Schmidt, played by Jonah Hill as a young man, getting picked on by Janko, played by Channing Tatum, after Schmidt tries to ask a girl out to the prom, and it makes Janko as a kid look like a douchebag, and which I don't know if we necessarily needed it. But we move on to 7 years later. Schmidt and Janko are in the police academy together, where they become friends. While Schmidt is good at the subjects, and Janko is good at the exercises, and they graduate the police academy. And their first assignment is being on bicycles and catching a bunch of park criminals. And the chase is rather funny, like when they find weed or some kind of drugs from these criminals that we'll catch up with later. As Schmidt gets knocked down by a big motherfucker and says to him he's a pussy, excuse my French, and they catch one, and they don't say the Miranda rights, and their captain lets the perp go and sends them to 21 Jump Street, where it looks like a church, and we meet Captain Dixon, played by Ice Cube, who's the most hilarious thing about the movie. And I do like the three characters we're introduced to in these first 10 minutes so far. Their assignment is to infiltrate the dealers of a drug where it leads to people doing funny things, and to find the supplier. And they become Doug and Brad McQuaid. And I love the way Ice Cube says his line, for example, "Still fucking with Korean Jesus. He ain't got time for your problems. He busy with Korean shit." And they stay at Schmidt's parents' house undercover as high school students, which is an embarrassing but funny, which isn't a bunch of embarrassing but funny scenes. They get to the first day of high school, and Janko parks in the handicap spot and acts like a douchebag about it to people who try and meet Eric Molson, played by Dave Franco, as long as his friends Molly Tracy, played by Brie Larson, before she won the Oscar for Room and became Captain Marvel, and Domingo, played by DeRay Davis, who's a gay man in the first class, and he's African American, of course, but and the first class Schmidt, aka Doug, auditions for the Peter Pan play, and Janko, aka Brad's teacher, has a crush on Janko, which does feel awkward, but it's still pretty damn funny. But it's uncomfortable, that's for damn sure. They meet Eric at the yearbook room, and they go to the bathroom to try to vomit it out and can't do it. And meet Mr. Walters, played by Rob Riggle, and they stick their tongue out and laugh at him, which is really funny. But what's hilarious is Janko beats the science question, and Schmidt sings a song from Peter Pan and cheats and trips on instruments and runs like a drugged up idiot. And it was cracking me up, I will admit that right now. Schmidt calls Molly to invite Molly and Eric and everyone to a party with alcohol and marijuana, and both Schmidt and Janko throw the party and steals Eric's cell phone, and the party gets crashed by a guy named Scott, who hits Schmidt, and Janko comes in and beats their asses with their fists and a vase, and at one point Schmidt is stabbed, and we don't see it while in the fight going on, and the party goes on until Schmidt's parents get home, and they get punished with chores, and Eric gives Schmidt a job to sell his drugs while Straight Outta Compton by the NWA is playing in the background. And I do like how hysterical that scene is. And Schmidt and Janko hang out with their own groups, which were nice, comfortable scenes. Eric and Domingo drop a pinata to the drug dealers from the park, and they drop their motorcycles in the middle of the road and they run for their lives to the front car in the light out to the freeway, and Schmidt and Janko get one car and break it and then get a pink bug car, and they get back to the school. Schmidt and Janko have an argument while at the Peter Pan play, and Molly hates Schmidt for good now, and they get expelled from school, and Captain Dixon fires them, and Schmidt and Janko get in the car with Eric and Domingo, and they talk about killing the two cops following their dealers, which happens to be Schmidt and Janko, and they get ready for prom and do chores at the same time, which was kind of funny. Janko calls his contacts and goes to prom with them, as well as Schmidt, and Schmidt finds Molly drugged up, and Schmidt and Janko go to Eric's room to meet Mr. Walters and their dealers, and the dealers recognizes Schmidt and Janko and have a Mexican standoff, as we see a cameo from Johnny Depp and some other guy from the original TV show. I'm sorry, I never got your name. Which was a nice surprise. And next thing you know, they die at a shootout with the dealers, and Eric and Mr. Walters take Molly with them, and they follow Eric and Mr. Walters, and Schmidt and Janko go after them, as well as the dealers, and catch them and read the Miranda rights to them and bring them to jail. And Captain Dixon says, "You two sons of bitches are going to college." And one reacts cheerfully while the other one says, "No." And the climax did crack me the fuck up, as it was really hilarious. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.5 out of 10. One of the funniest comedies based on a TV show I've seen, and I do like the actors in their roles, and I had a pretty good time with it. Some of the quiet scenes are very comforting, and I recommend people should check this movie out. I think it's pretty funny. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with 22 Jump Street. And until next time, I'm going to quote a Jonah Hill line. "I came from my motherfucking keys to my motherfucking minivan, and that's what's up." Guess the movie.